This is Yerushalmi Shabbos. The article Oz Bahar edition Radav Zayin Amud Aleph. From Rabbi Yosa, which is 4 lines to the top, and the Vilna that is on Hey Amud Beis, 1, 2, 3, 6, 8 lines to the bottom. Last word on line. So it's Vav Aleph Reish. From Rabbi Yosa, Rabbi Yosa said, Iskopa, the Iskopa which you talked about yesterday, the threshold, which is Carmelis, Sha'amru, Ruchava Arba, it's 4 by 4 Tvachim. Ve'ena Gava Asor, it's not 10 Tvachim high. In Temagava Asor, because it was 10 Tvachim high, Uruchav Arba, and 4 by 4 Tvachim wide, the Rishos Bifnei Atzma would be its own Rishos Yochid. It has the specification of Yochid. 10 Tvachim high by 4 Tvachim in length and width. In Temagava Asor, Ve'ena Ruchav Arba, if it's say it's 10 Tvachim high but not 4 Tvachim by 4 Tvachim wide, so Hada, this is from the category the Amrav Chisda B'Shem Asi. The list is said in the name of Asi is Kana notes which is a rabbin. You have a stick stuck into Rishus Rabbin. Kavah Sar Tvachim which is 10 Tvachim high. Mutzah Kan which is permitted to both Rishus Rabbin and Rishus Hayachid. And this, although it's not explicitly defined as such here, obviously is a Makom P'tur. The Makom P'tur, not sure if the proper pronunciation is Makom Patur or Makom P'tur, but it's always pronounced Makom P'tur, so we'll keep that pronunciation. So Makom P'tur, which is Mutter L'kan, where each side, which is allowed to use it, Uvad Shlo Yachlif, as long as you don't use it as a tool to get from Rishus Rabbin to Rishus Yochid or vice versa. The Makom P'tur obviously is a unique situation, and it's not a Carmelis. So what is a Carmelis? A Carmelis is the Kabbalah takes out most of the Farshim, take out the next 2 words, low, but rather Arba Lo Gva, where it's 4 Tvachim, it's 4 Tvachim by 4 Tvachim, but not 10 Tvachim high, and that is the Skova which can be a Carmelis, and we're going to discuss it a little bit more right now about a threshold going further. Iskoba Shifnei Pesach. You have this Iskoba threshold in front of a door. Achem Omim, others say, a closed Manja Pesach Basuach, as long as the opening is open, so the Kula Kalifnim. It's all considered to be, the entire threshold is considered to be as if it's part of the house. No, if the door is closed, then kul kachutz. The entire threshold is if it's outside the house. Manachem. So we want to ask, what are we talking about? What kind of threshold is this? Imul kura. If it's a covered threshold, I feel no. Even if the door is closed, kul ifnim. That's of course very basic halacha. If you have a covered threshold, then it should be. It's part and parcel of the. It's part and parcel of the house. It's like rishus yachid. But if it's not covered, I feel pasuach. Even the opening's open, it's like outside. Okay, we'll tell you about rather this case. Half of it is covered and half of it is not covered. Now, let's make this clear. We're talking about, as you said before, an escope which is 4 by 4 tvachim. A roof in halacha is by definition 4 by 4 tvachim. If it's less than 4 by 4 tvachim, it's not a roof. So therefore, if it's completely covered with a roof, 4 by 4 tvachim, so we'd say pitikra, the rim of the roof, as if it closes the haskopa on the outside. But this is about where it's half covered and half not covered. So therefore you can't say pitikra. The question is whether when the door is open, nevertheless, the part under the roof can be considered to be as if it's inside, or doesn't matter because you only have a partial roof. Half of it, 2 tvachim is covered, half is not covered. So the Acherim say, Ma'u, no kula chutz. If it's locked, it's completely like outside. The entire sklipa. The covered part, the non-covered part is with the outside, and then mutar l'shtamish chutz, meaning chutz token used from outside the street, presumably, which is a Carmelis, into the skupa, and from the skupa to the street. Ukshu pesach chor, and even if you have in the opening, you have in the door a hole. You can't put stuff from inside the house through the hole to the carmelis, or vice versa, to the ascopa, or vice versa from the ascopa through the hole. Now, what the Achem didn't say is what happens if the door is open. So we can infer from what Rabbi Nosson says. It was about to say what Achem would say, and this is what we're going to do. Now I'm going to go to Pnei Moshe here. It's a big machlokes how to interpret this sugya, whether Rabbi Nosson is arguing Achem or he's explaining Achem. Korbaneda seems to say that he's explaining Achem, and Pnei Moshe says he's arguing on Achem. The Yifei Naim and Shabbos Daf Tes says this is actually machlokes Rashi and Rashba. The Rashi goes like the Korbaneda, and the Rashba like the Pnei Moshe. Let's go with the Pnei Moshe for now. So the Rabbi Nosson says no, if it's locked, kulachutz. Then the entire scope is I like the outside. But suach, if it's open, chutz, then half is like inside, half it's as outside. So let's see Pnei Moshe. He says the homodin. This I can see to you. Shema pesach naul. If the door is locked, kulachutz, the entire half-roofed scope is like the outside. The enkan Torah is good aches. He says good aches. I think when Pitik was more accurate, the same principle that the lip of the roof would come down and close off the scopa. So in any event, there is no again. I think it's supposed to be Pitik, not good aches, but. It's the same principle. Because you only have half of a roof. And the door is locked. It's all considered like it's outside. But when the opening is open, I argue with you. To me, it makes sense like this. The half which is covered, it's considered like it's inside. It's considered part of the house. Since it's roofed by Pesach Pasuchi. And the opening and the Pesach is open. So the inference we have from this to Acherim is that even when the door is open, you're still not allowed to use the Chetzi Makura. But the Chetzi Makura also is the carmelis beyond the Ascoipa. So it's not according to Acherim, the roofed part of the Ascoipa. Well, let's put it this way: the part which is not roofed is for sure not kalifnim. The part which is roofed, if the door is closed, so then the street can use it. If the door is open, neither side can use it. Not the inside, not the house, nor the street. Rabbi Nosson argues. He says when the door is open, the part which is makura, which is under the roof, is part of the house, and that part is moved to the house, even though the outer part of the scope, which is not roofed, remains also. That's what he says here. The other, I'm still continuing Pnei Moshe. The part which is not roofed is always like the outside. There's nothing for it. And like the Gemara concludes, according to the large Rabbi Nosson, the chilo kain savina meimar, and this I'm going to read the Gemara itself. Right, and go back to Moshe. Chilo kain savina meimar. Do we not hold like this to say? Here we're talking about a scope which is 4 tefachim, like we said before. But so you said when the door is closed, it's completely like outside. Since the outer half is not covered, even when the opening is open, the other half is always like the outside, is like the street, right? That the chetzah, so that part is like the outside, but the inner part, which is close to the door, is considered to be, when the door is open, part and parcel of the inner space. The model would work out slightly better if we took out the word af. To be honest with you, we work out, we'd say, look, it's a very memor, it's good, but arba, pesa kula chutz, so pesa pasula chetzim ni chetzim chutz. The word af is a little bit difficult, but okay, we can live with it. Okay, let's go on to halacha base. Lo yeshev adam b'nei sapor samuch lemincha ad sheyispalel. A person should not, this is of course a very radical jump. The person should not sit next to a barber, go to a barber samuch lemincha when it's near mincha time, ad sheyispalel before he davens. Lo yikanes to lemerchatz, shouldn't go to a bathhouse, lo burski, nor a tanning procedure, working hides. Lo chov, lo din, not to eat, nor to a court case. Until he davens mincha. If they started, mafsikin don't have to interrupt. Mafsikin the kriya shema, you interrupt for kriya shema. Mafsikin the tefillah, you don't interrupt for the tefillah. After kriya shema is the raisa, and the tefillah is the rabbanon. You stop for shema with the raisa, not for tefillah shema rabbanon. Onatina samach lemincha. So we learn in our Mishnah that it's about samach lemincha. Well, Rabbi Chia, samach chashecha. He says no. In his brisa, his version, it was samach chashecha before nightfall. Not before Zman mincha, but before Zman before night. Masnisa tzricha masnisa. The Rabbi Chia, our Mishnah requires the brisa Rabbi Chia. Masnisa Rabbi Chia tzricha masnisa, and the brisa Rabbi Chia requires our Mishnah. Ilu tani Rabbi Chia lo tninan anan. If we only had the brisa Rabbi Chia, not our Mishnah, we would say lo ela chashecha. I would say that it's only choshesh if it's right before nightfall. They go misman mincha, but mincha lo. But if it's just before, if it's before zman mincha, we're not concerned because you have plenty of time. Have it tuchel masisa. We need our mishnah that no, as long as it's adjacent to the time of mincha, so you should not. You should do mincha first. Have tzurchel v'masisa. So in our Mishnah. O ilu tana, from Abraham Moshe changes. Ilu tana anon. They would just said our Mishnah, not Rabbi Chia, but our Mishnah. Lotni and Rabbi Chia, and then Rabbi Chia. However, Amina would have said kulu d'tninan mincha. I would have said I'm going to read the carbon Ada here. Kol hechadetani chashecha. Kai the sefer, as we're going to see in the next Mishnah, things that are somel chashecha. Kai the sefer, like the end of the Mishnah says, lo yetzei chayit b'machdo somel chashecha. That Taylor talk about Erev Shabbos, adjacent to chashecha with his needle. That those things. Again, kulan d'tninan mincha are things that it says our Mishnah mincha do the mincha. Kulan d'tninan chashecha. All things that it says chashecha are chashecha. D'tninan mincha d'tninan Rabbi Chia ruba chashecha. So from that which we learned mincha and Rabbi Chia the Great. I don't know who we mentioned since Roim, but I'm sure we mentioned it. I don't think it's the first time we have in Shabbos, but just mentioning Rabbi Chia is always called Rabbi Chia the Great, and very often called Rabbi Chia the Great in the Yerushalmi. I would have said, I'm sorry, so it means that those things which says chashecha in the next Mishnah, minchahi. They're really from mincha. So even though what he is telling us is chashecha and mincha are interchangeable, and things which are also from chashecha in the next Mishnah are really also from mincha. The article brings them in the Chayim Sefer and the Bavli. So why change language? Why in the Mishnah is samach mincha and there is samach chashecha? Because here the reason for this is that you shouldn't forget the daven. That's what Mishnah says, samach mincha. By the tailor, the issue is we don't want him to go out on Shabbos, which of course starts with chashecha. So that's the Mishnah takes has the language of chashecha. And then he brings that interesting thing. He says that this Gemara has not put down the poskim, and therefore the halacha of the chayot. So he brings it down from the Sfas Emes, therefore, and the Bir Halacha. Therefore, the Halacha of Chayit, in fact, Lamaisa is not also from the time of Mincha, but in a half an hour adjacent to Shkia, which is actually the definition of Samach Rashecha. Okay, so the Gemara gives a different reconciliation between Rabbi Chia and the Mishnah. Chananya ben Achoy, the Rab Oshia, the son of the brother of Rabbi Yoshia, said, Masnisin Amar Masnisin Amei Oretz. The Mishnah is to Amei Oretz. And Ma'adatai Rabbi Chia b'chaverim. Rabbi Chia said about Tamei Chachamim, as the Korban Eder explains, that Amei Oretz need harchoka yisera. So therefore, they have to stop desisting from all these things at the time of Mincha. Things mentioned Mishnah. Rabbi Chia says no. Chia says that that's true. That and Amei Oretz requires additional harchoka. But Chaverim, Tamei Chachamim, who are more zrizim, they don't require that. They can stop doing all these things. So presumably at half an hour right before Chashem is enough time for them to make sure they have mincha. Rabbana Kesarin said that the Masnisin ke Rabbi Yehuda. That was our Mishnah going like Rabbi Yehuda. Mandatani Rabbi Chia ki Rabbanim. The Korban explains our Mishnah going like the Sfirle the Tfilas Mincha Plaga Mincha. He holds minchas until Plaga Mincha, so therefore all these streams start earlier. Rabbi Chia from Samach the Plaga Mincha. Chia Savik Rabban Savik the Erev Man Mincha he holds it until the time until Shkia, so therefore all these streams start later, not at the time of Plaga Mincha, but at the time of Shkia. Again, not a half an hour adjacent to Plaga Mincha, but half an hour adjacent to. Now we have header from our Mishnah. It says that. Livnei Sapar, Samach Mincha, you shouldn't sit in front of the barber adjacent Mincha, actually spinal to Davin, Loikas the Merchatz, and not go into the Merchatz, go into a bathhouse until you Davin as well. So, as close as Sapar Ezu, the Mishnah said, but if you start, you don't have to interrupt. So, what's he starting? So, initially says, well, once he starts shaving, says, no. Can't be. But I knew the brisa by an ovel. Yoshalom ugalech. A person sits down to get a shave. Bo, they just sits down. Bo Ramo, they come and they say to him, Mesaviv, his father died. Hareza Mashim Rosho. He can complete his head, even though he hasn't yet started yet. Just sit down. Whether it's the person giving the haircut or the person receiving the haircut. So the Korban points out there it's the Raisa. Aveil's Yerushalmi is the Raisa. So even though he just sat down, he can complete the haircut. So here it can't mean by the Rabbanan of Mincha that he actually has to have started shaving. I use the haircut and shaving interchangeably. But he has to have started shaving in order to complete the haircut when he remembers it's Samach Mincha. So where it says, you're right. Lo Asya, it's not coming to tell us that, but rather Mishisati Beluntis. It's not going to tell us that he has to be a case where he actually began taking a haircut, literally where he started snipping, but rather the moment he puts on the apron. There it's true by the Avelis, from the time he puts on the apron, that's considered to be sitting down to get the haircut. And here too, in our mission, from the time he puts on the apron, that's considered to be sitting down to get the haircut, and you don't have to be mafsik after that for mincha. And we will be mafsik here for today because we got to have someone else.